We're going to talk about two Massachusetts savings options. The first one being the U.Fund college investing plan. So the U.Fund is the Massachusetts 529 plan, and 529 plans have become sort of the college investment vehicle of choice since the 90s when they were created. And essentially, they were created at the federal level, and then every state was tasked with creating their own 529 plan or plans. The U Fund is the Massachusetts 529 plan. It is a MEFA offering, and we have contracted with Fidelity Investments for them to manage the investments and the accounts. So how it works essentially is you would open an account at fidelity.com/ufund. You put money into that account. You can do that whenever you feel like doing it. You can do it in one lump sum, or you can set up an automatic withdrawal from your checking account. And your money is invested by Fidelity in the market. And it grows with the market, tax deferred. When you take the funds out, as long as you use them for qualified educational expenses, you pay no taxes on the earnings. And we're going to talk about what qualified expenses are in just a minute. But an important thing to note when you're setting up an account is that there's no annual account maintenance fee. So there's not a fee that you're going to have to pay out of pocket. There are fees associated with the U-Fund as there are for all 529 plans, but they are taken out of the earnings of the account. And also, there's no minimum investment to get started. So you can open an account with very little money. You can open an account with no money and choose to fund later. So we're just trying to remove barriers that may exist for people to start saving for college, since we know how beneficial that is. Now, I did mention that this was an investment plan. So there are multiple investment options to choose from, including actively managed portfolios, index portfolios, individual allocation portfolios, and FDIC insured portfolios. Now, I just threw out a lot of investing jargon at you there, but neither I nor MEFA are investment professionals. We can't give you investment advice. We're not qualified to do that. Don't really want to do that, but Fidelity can. So I personally know very little about investment. When I was opening up my account, I had questions, and I was able to talk with Fidelity, and they were able to advise me. Just because this is the Massachusetts Massachusetts U-Fund, it doesn't mean that you have to use the U-Fund at a Massachusetts college. So savings can be used at any accredited college or university in the country. Actually, even some international colleges, as long as they're set up to take U.S. federal funds, you can use your U-Fund money there and still get your tax benefit. And there is a maximum on the account of $500,000. So you're not able to contribute anymore once the beneficiary has a combined account maximum of $500,000. So that is not typically a problem for most people, but that is the account maximum. So if you've got $500,000, or if your investment value has exceeded that, you can't put any more into the U-Fund at that point. And it says combined account maximum. So what that means is that if I have a U-Fund for my son and my mother has a U-Fund for my son, those two accounts together could not exceed $500,000, or if they did, you could not continue to contribute to those. Now, I said we were going to talk about what qualified educational expenses are. What are the eligible expenses that you can withdraw from the U-Fund and still maintain your tax benefit? That's tuition, fees, housing and food, books and required equipment. So a lot of costs there for college. Also, it's not strictly speaking for college per se. So you can use your U-Fund up to $10,000 annually for costs related to apprenticeships. You can use up to $10,000 annually for tuition at private and public K through 12 education. And you can use a one-time $10,000 withdrawal from the U-Fund to pay student loans. So those last three are due to a recent expansion in 529 law. So one of the benefits of 529 programs is just how flexible they are and how many different costs you can use and still maintain that tax benefit. So what happens if I take out money for ineligible expenses? There are penalties associated with that, and that's very important that we note that. It's also important, though, to note that the penalties are all on the earnings of the 529 account and not what you put into the 529 account, but the earnings that accrued on them. So those penalties are a 10% penalty on the earnings, and the earnings will be taxed at the owner's rate of income. Now, there are three exceptions to the 10% penalty on the earnings, which are death and disability of the student, but also scholarship. So if a student is awarded a scholarship and you have to withdraw funds and can't use them as they were intended because of that scholarship, then there is no 10% penalty on that scholarship amount. However, even in those three cases, if you withdraw funds and use them for ineligible expenses, the earnings will be taxed at the owner's rate of income. I do want to mention a program called the Baby Steps Savings Plan, and this is Massachusetts' first statewide seeded child savings account. And we're really excited about it because it uses the U.Fund as that account. Essentially, what it is, it was created or it kicked off essentially on January 1st, 2020. It was created by the Massachusetts State Treasurer's Office, the Office of Economic Empowerment in particular. And it sets aside $50 in a U.Fund account for every Massachusetts child to open by their first birthday or first anniversary of adoption. So we're very excited about that. And if this is relevant to you or to someone in your life, a friend or a family who may be eligible for this, they can visit mass.gov/babysteps to get started. The other program that we want to talk about today is the U.Plan prepaid tuition program. And so how this program works, it's different from the U.Fund 529 plan. It's not a 529 plan, it's a prepaid tuition plan. So it allows you to prepay up to 100% of tuition and mandatory fees at each participating college or university. And all colleges and universities that participate are in Massachusetts. So it's a large network of Massachusetts public and private colleges that participate. Unlike the U.Fund, the money that you put in is not invested in the market. It's invested in general obligation bonds that are backed by the full faith and credit of the Commonwealth, so it's not subject to market fluctuation. And also, unlike the U.Fund, while there's not a minimum amount to get started in the U.Plan, there is a minimum amount to purchase a certificate. So you can open an account online. You can contribute whatever you can. You can contribute throughout the year, but there is a one-time bond purchase, and it occurs in July. So whatever you have in your account at the time of the bond purchase, that is what purchases your U.Plan certificate. So first of all, it has to be above $300. If it isn't, your money stays in your U.Plan account. And, hopefully you're adding to that. And by next year, if it's over $300, you'll purchase a certificate then. But if it's above $300, then whatever you put in purchases a percentage of this year's tuition and fees at a participating college. So let me give you this example. If you have contributed $1,000 in a year for the U.Plan, that would buy 10% at a college that costs $10,000 this year, or buy 5% at a college that costs $20,000 this year. You don't have to pick the college when you put the funds in. What you have to do when you set up your U.Plan account is you pick an owner. This is just like the U.Fund. You pick an owner, so a person who is in control of the account, a beneficiary, meaning the student, how much money you're putting in, how often you're putting in, whether it's a one-time contribution or putting money in periodically. But you also have to list what year or years you want to use the money in. So you want to pick one or more of the years that your child is going to be in college. And so this is when your bond is going to mature. So to make it simple, let's say you put in $1,000 and you want all that money to mature in your student's freshman year in college. And let's say that is 15 years from now. Okay, you put in $1,000, Dan, with us all to the first year. So that's going to buy 10% of tuition at a college that costs $10,000 this year, or it's going to buy 5% at a college that costs $20,000. Now, if He goes to that college that you purchased 10% at. In 15 years, let's say that tuition is no longer $10,000, but it's $30,000. So what that means is that you have 10% then of $30,000 or $3,000 because you bought 10% of tuition this year. So the value of that 10% increases along with the pace that tuition increases. So your $1,000 became $3,000 because $10,000 became $30,000. That is generally how the U-Plan works. Now you can continue to put funds in year after year and add to your percentage. There is a 5-year minimum though between when you put money in and when you can select to have it mature. So as your child begins to age towards college, you're going to lose the ability to lock in tuition. If you want to learn more about the U-Plan, and you should, it's a great plan. It's mefa.org/U-Plan. I know some questions that come up with the U-Plan already. So what happens if my child doesn't go to a participating college? So if that happens, just like the U-Fund, funds can be transferred over to other beneficiaries within the family. So if there's brothers, cousins, what have you, you can transfer those funds. You can do that for the U-Fund. You can do that for the U-Plan as well. Um, and if that's not an option, certificates can be cashed out upon maturity, and you get what you put in plus the interest that accrued on those bonds, so CPI. Unlike the U-Fund, though, there are not really tax consequences for cashing out. So distributions, whether cashed out or sent to a college, carry no Massachusetts or federal tax consequences. Now, can the U-Plan be used for graduate school? It cannot. It can only be used for undergraduate school. The U-Fund, on the other hand, can be used for graduate school. In addition to these benefits that we've already discussed, there are other Massachusetts tax benefits associated with these plans. So if you are a saver in the U-Plan or U-Fund or both, you are able to deduct up to $2,000 from married filers or $1,000 for individual filers of your contributions on your Massachusetts state income taxes. And this is per filer, not per account. So if you have 3 accounts and you're doing 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, if you're a married filer filing jointly, the amount that you can deduct on your Massachusetts income tax is still only 2,000. But again, it's just another incentive to try to get people to save for college and another benefit if they do so.